You're listening to a summary of The New Chameleons, a book by Michael R. Solomon. Today's consumers defy simple categorization, says marketing professor and consultant Michael R. Solomon. And marketers vested in binary thinking won't appeal to them. Brands must undergo a mindset shift and recognize the postmodern collapse of most of the rigid labels of the past. For example, they must recognize that today gender is fluid. Perceived age eclipses real age, and the division between sellers and buyers is disappearing. Solomon guides marketers toward a more sophisticated, actionable understanding of identity construction and consumer behaviors in an increasingly complex world. So let's begin. Here's takeaway 1. Marketing categories are expanding beyond traditional demographic labels. Today's consumers defy traditional labels and marketing categorization. Consider Sophia. This Hispanic consumer works for a bank and chooses conservative business dress in the workplace, but dons club attire from Urban Outfitters when out for the evening. Sophia is bisexual, prefers the gender-neutral pronoun Z, and as a Catholic is pro-life. Z lives in a Manhattan loft, cooks vegan food, loves Shakira and the jam band Fish, volunteers with Greenpeace, and shops for food at Walmart. Consumers like Sophia, who do not fit neatly into any lifestyle market segment, are the new chameleons. Consumers don't demonstrate loyalty to the market segments you might erroneously try to group them in. As big data gains sophistication, companies increasingly target markets of one, using technology to anticipate what a specific individual might buy next. Now let's hear takeaway 2. Traditional views of customer differentiation can fuel stereotypes. Marketers traditionally categorize customers via demographic differences such as age, gender, and race. But relying on these familiar market segments rarely proves useful today. How you perceive customers matters less, and how they perceive themselves matters more. For example, perceived age now eclipses actual age. You may encounter customers, for example, in their 60s who embrace the ethos that 60 is the new 40. Consumers increasingly inhabit the intersections of a multiplicity of identities and belong to more than one ethnic group. Rihanna's cosmetics brand, Fenty Beauty, for example, offers a wide range of products for women of skin tones ranging from albino white to dark chocolate. Buyers no longer limit their self-expression to the labels marketers offer them. Marketers must generate strategies that reflect this shift. Okay, time for the third takeaway. Buying options overwhelm consumers. They want less choice, not more. Shoppers today live on their digital devices and experience a non-stop barrage of information. Their buying decisions are nonlinear and unsystematic. Excessive buying options overwhelm people who may believe they want more buying choices, but in reality prefer fewer, better ones. Consumers seldom make buying decisions based on the merchandise they see on store shelves or on e-commerce websites. Rather, they research options by reading trusted digital reviews and recommendations. Marketers should cater to the hive minds of young people who turn to digital communities and social media to see which products influencers and those they trust recommend. As gatekeepers, such as, for example, Vogue magazine and cultural elites, guided consumers towards decisions in the past, today's digital shoppers seek those with curatorial vision. Marketers must take on the roles of curators and influencers in the marketplace ecosystem. Many online curators that confer credibility, such as We Are Travel Girls, a startup aimed at women travelers, are actually algorithms exploiting shoppers' personal data to create individualized recommendations. All right, here's the next takeaway. Embrace hybrid digital and physical identities to reflect the behaviors of digital natives. Younger consumers view their digital and physical personas as hybrid entities, not separate ones. They live most of their lives online, so don't differentiate between online and offline experiences. Brands should match this mindset switch by creating hybrid digital and physical shopping experiences, by seamlessly integrating digital technologies into bricks and mortar experiences. Physical shopping experiences are not obsolete, but their purpose is evolving. Many treat shopping for non-essentials in traditional storefronts as a social activity. Brands should transform the remaining storefronts into luxury experiences featuring digital interventions such as touchscreens. Gaming dramatically shapes the expectations and goals of consumers, with as many as 2 billion people gaming worldwide. Contrary to existing stereotypes, roughly 40% of gamers are women. While many view gaming as an antisocial activity, in fact, many players embrace inherently social multiplayer games. Marketers already leverage the power of integrating click-through advertisements and branding into video games. For example, in Mario Kart 8, the characters drive Mercedes. Stanford researcher Jeremy Bailison refers to the influence that 3D avatars can have over a person's behavior as the Proteus effect, a reference to the shape-shifting Greek god. People who observe an avatar that resembles them engaging in certain behaviors are more likely to later demonstrate those behaviors on and offline. Brands can leverage this phenomenon by putting product placements in gaming worlds. Great, now let's listen to takeaway number 5. The distinctions between sellers and buyers are eroding. Consumer-generated content is on the rise. Brands such as the graphic t-shirt company Threadless, for example, allow aspirational designers to submit t-shirt concepts, crowdsourcing ideas that their fan base votes on. Today, consumers and brands can participate in mutually beneficial arrangements with everyday people, aiding the marketing process by taking over functions traditionally performed by professionals, such as advertising. Brands find value in soliciting more feedback from consumers during their design process, by, for example, testing reactions to prototypes before they commence production. This exemplifies the shift toward enlisting consumers as co-creators. A desire for authenticity increasingly drives consumers toward choosing goods they view as artisanal, or which represent aspects of the maker movement, a return to people learning to create their own goods through developing skills ranging from woodworking to robotics. Brands capitalize on this shift by partnering with smaller-scale makers and embracing the power of narrative to share the origin stories of goods, as Whole Foods, for example, shares information regarding the farms that provide food the grocery chain stocks. Brands must also respond to the disruption of the sharing economy. For example, many consumers prefer not to buy technology such as 3D printers, but rather access them via makerspaces areas in which they share resources. Here's another takeaway. Embrace gender-fluid consumers to overcome binary thinking. Traditionally, brands catered to gendered notions of how women and men ought to live and behave by dividing consumers according to a gender binary. Consumers' desire to accept limits around gendered sex-determined roles is waning, as are cultural expectations of how people should act according to gender. This proves especially true among younger consumers, who live increasingly gender-fluid or post-gender lives. Brands must accept what social scientists have long understood. Gender exists on a spectrum, and binary constraints don't reflect reality. Androgyny is not a new concept. For example, wealthy European men donned high heels in the 17th century to communicate their elite status. The LGBTQIA+, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, intersex, asexual, and anyone else market is growing, comprising roughly 13% of the U.S. population. Pop culture icons ranging from RuPaul to Lady Gaga, for example, showcase androgynous personas, blurring gender boundaries and resonating with fans. Many countries are witnessing the birth of a third gender category, with Australia allowing people to register as gender non-specific on their official documents, and Nepal issuing citizens' identity documents as third gender people. Okay, let's move on. Here's takeaway 7. Consumption choices reflect and create buyers' self-concept. Nobody's self-concept is stable. It evolves and changes as an individual evolves and changes. So marketers must comprehend the shifting identities of consumers and cater to them. People buy for the needs of their actual self and for an ideal version of themselves they aspire to become. Their consumption choices reflect and form their self-concepts. The objects, environments, community groups, and identity groups a person surrounds him or herself with constitute an extended self. Marketers selling everything from personal items, such as jewelry, to products that help people maintain a certain lifestyle, for example, tutors for their children, service this extended self. People create a dichotomy between sacred and profane consumption. This dualistic division exists outside its religious context. Sacred experiences and objects hold a special meaning for the consumer. Profane experiences and objects are ordinary and lack meaning. Marketers can aspire to make ordinary, profane consumption sacred by imbuing it with special meaning, by, for example, selling a limited edition product. The societal notion of taste demarcates socioeconomic status, with higher income people more likely to engage in tasteful cultural activities, such as attending the theater and furnishing their homes with meaningful decorative objects. Today, mass market consumers, not only the elite, increasingly value the aesthetics of worthy design. Marketers capitalize on this shift by engendering consumer loyalty via products ranging from aesthetically designed Gillette razor blades to Apple Watches. Now for the eighth and final takeaway. Traditional media and social divides are rapidly disappearing. The division between branded content and traditional media is collapsing. Paid media, paying for branded messages to appear in traditional media outlets, owned media, web-based outlets a corporation owns, and earned media, media others find when searching using SEO keywords, increasingly resemble journalism. The division between earned and paid media is also disappearing, as a brand may, for example, pay someone appearing on a talk show to mention a product a certain number of times. Product placement has become so invisible that consumers face increasing difficulty establishing what is and isn't advertising. Consumers no longer know who to trust, so rely most on friends. To build credibility, marketers must nurture long-term relationships with customers through consistent messaging and aligned behaviors. The division between humans and machines is eroding as brands increasingly utilize sales bots that mimic human speech. People transform play into work via apps that track their activities, and employers retain workers through play-based strategies. As societal boundaries erode and evolve, marketers must cultivate an understanding of what it means to be human. That was a summary of The New Chameleons, a book by Michael R. Solomon. Here's the 8 takeaways once more. Takeaway 1. Marketing categories are expanding beyond traditional demographic labels. Takeaway 2. Traditional views of customer differentiation can fuel stereotypes. The third takeaway. Buying options overwhelm consumers. They want less choice, not more. Takeaway 4. Embrace hybrid digital and physical identities to reflect the behaviors of digital natives. Takeaway 5. The distinctions between sellers and buyers are eroding. Takeaway 6. Embrace gender-fluid consumers to overcome binary thinking. The 7th takeaway. Consumption choices reflect and create buyers' self-concept. And finally, takeaway 8. Traditional media and social divides are rapidly disappearing.